All right, so if you're starting university, you're probably bracing for a whole new level of academic pressure. Let's talk about an essential survival tool you might not have heard of, the Fudge ratio. Seriously, this concept could be a total game changer for managing your workload and your well-being.
Does this feel a little too familiar? That constant tug of war between trying to make every single thing you do absolutely perfect and that creeping feeling of just complete and utter burnout. It's a classic dilemma, and so many new students get caught in it.
But here's the thing. What if I told you that this is a totally false choice? You don't actually have to pick between doing excellent work and being completely exhausted. There is a smarter, much more balanced way to go about it, and that's exactly what we're going to break down.
First up, let's really dig into the problem itself. We're talking about that high-pressure environment that makes this choice feel so real. It's something we can call the perfectionism trap.
You know, what's really wild is how all these things start to pile on top of each other. The jump from high school is just huge. All of a sudden, you've got way more freedom, but with that comes a much bigger workload, right? You're juggling multiple deadlines, clubs, maybe a job, and then there's this pressure, whether it's from you or from others, to be amazing at all of it. It is no wonder so many students feel completely overwhelmed. So, the big question is, how do you escape that trap? Let's introduce the solution. And I want to be super clear here. This is a strategic tool for success, not some excuse to slack off. It's called the Fudge ratio.
So what is it? Well, the Fudge ratio, which you can also think of as a grade buffer, is all about strategic balance. It's the art of knowing when to go all out for that perfect 100 and when a solid 90 is actually the smarter play, one that preserves your sanity and energy for the next big thing.
And this analogy just nails the whole idea. Think about it. If you put way too much effort into a tiny assignment, you've overcooked it, you've wasted energy. But if you don't put enough effort into a massive project, it's undercooked. The goal is to find that perfect sweet spot for a university career that you can actually sustain.
Okay, so the concept makes sense, but how do you actually use it? Let's get practical and break down the simple, actionable guide.
It really just boils down to these 3 steps. First, you figure out what really matters and what doesn't. Then, you plan your time and energy around that. And finally, and this part is non-negotiable, you always put your own well-being at the top of the list.
Now, this first step is absolutely the most important. You have to get good at telling the difference between the mountains and the molehills. That final exam that's worth 40% of your grade, that's a mountain. That's high stakes. That weekly reading response that's worth 1%, total molehill, low stakes. One needs your absolute best, the other just needs to be done well and efficiently.
And that's the whole strategy in a nutshell. See, you're not phoning it in on the low-stakes work. You're just being efficient. You meet the requirements, you do a good job, but you don't pour the same exhaustive effort into it that you save for those big, critical assignments. It's all about working smarter, not just harder. Theory is one thing, but let's make this really concrete. We're going to walk through a couple of real-world scenarios that pretty much every student recognizes just to see how this works in practice.
The classic. The dual deadlines dilemma. You've got 2 huge papers and they're due on the exact same day. Now, your perfectionist instinct is screaming, time for 2 all-nighters, we're getting 100% on both. But the Fudge ratio offers a much, much better way.
So instead of splitting your energy and maybe getting 2 mediocre papers, you make a strategic choice. You decide to give 100% to the history paper. Maybe that's the one you're more confident about. Then, for the literature paper, you aim for a stellar 90%. It's still a fantastic piece of work, but you've allowed yourself that little bit of fudge to make sure you get everything done without completely collapsing.
Okay, here's another one. Picture it. It's 10 p.m. the night before a huge exam. You've been studying for weeks, but then you find a topic you totally missed. Panic starts to set in. What do?
The strategic move here is not to cram all night. That's a recipe for disaster. Instead, you apply the Fudge ratio. You spend 1 focused hour on that missed topic, just getting the main ideas down. You accept that you won't master every little detail. And then you prioritize sleep. Why? Because a well-rested brain will do way better on the 95% of the material you do know than an exhausted brain will on 100% of it.
So, as you can see, this strategy goes way beyond just managing your grades. Let's zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture here. This isn't just some simple trick. The Fudge ratio is a whole mindset. It's really a philosophy for building a university experience that's both successful and, this is the key, sustainable. It's about giving yourself permission to be human.
And I think this quote really says it all. The end goal isn't just a transcript full of perfect grades that came at the cost of your health and your happiness. The real goal is to have a rich, satisfying experience where you actually get to learn, grow, and thrive.
So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. As you go on your own academic journey, what are your high-stakes tasks? What are your low-stakes ones? And how are you going to use this idea to bake the kind of balanced, successful, and fulfilling university experience that you absolutely deserve?